Good morning. My name is Ruthie Marie Beckwith, and I'm the new director of Tash. And I would like to begin by saying how delighted and honored I am to be the new executive director and to be assuming the role of an organization that has consistently stood for the values and mission and beliefs that I deeply cherish in helping people with the most significant disabilities have the type of life and opportunities that we all dearly cherish and hope for the people that we love. I want to start with a little bit of background about myself to introduce myself and then give you a little bit of an understanding of why I came to Tash and also what I hope to see Tash accomplish in the time that I'm in tenure as the executive director. First, I began my career as an advocate for people with significant disabilities as a special education teacher. I started teaching special education in Kentucky the first year that children with all disabilities could come to school. And in our classrooms in Kentucky, we had 16-year-old twins who had never been to school. Children that for the first time could no longer be denied the opportunity for an education in the same way that all other children in our communities were able to deeply cherish. I moved from Kentucky to Nashville to pursue my graduate work at Vanderbilt, and during that time I worked in group homes as a group home house manager for 8 people with varying disabilities, and then I also helped as I worked in that agency. I moved up the ranks and eventually became the assistant director, and we supported 88 people in residential settings ranging from a 20-person unit to 8-bed units in group homes, and then also sheltered apartments where people were able to pursue and have more independence in their life. During that time that I was at the residential agency, I helped a group of people there found a very small self-advocacy organization that ultimately became People First of Tennessee. People First of Tennessee was and continues to be a mission and a cause dear to my heart. And while I was the executive director there, we filed 3 class action lawsuits against the state over the conditions that were in the state-run institutions in Tennessee. And I'm very proud to say that as the result of my time and continued work as a volunteer with People First after I left that organization as their director, we now have only 50 people left in Tennessee's state-run institutions for people with intellectual disabilities. The 4th and final institution will be closing next year. After I left People First of Tennessee, I founded another organization called the Tennessee Microboards Association. And a microboard is a very small group of people who come together and formally incorporate a nonprofit organization to help that person have the type of life that he or she wants. And if they so desire, because they are a formal organization, they're able to go and pursue the same Medicaid funding that any other large provider in the country has been receiving to provide supports and services. And in Tennessee, there are currently 20 organizations operating as providers, but these are small, little bitty person-centered organizations that really only help 1 or 2 people. One of the organizations in Tennessee is a microboard for the individual that I'm a guardian for. His name is Thomas, and I've been Thomas's guardian now for 23 years, and Thomas is totally deaf and blind. And before he had his microboard, it was very difficult for me, even as someone who's perceived to be the most vigilant and vociferous advocate, to really have and help him have the quality life that I had really wanted him to have. But because of his microboard, he now is a homeowner. He has a very small little micro enterprise, and he has tenured staff who have been with him and continue to challenge him to have and seek out the types of opportunities that will help him continue to grow and prosper in Nashville, which is where he lives. When I left the Microboard Association, I spent some time writing. I have two novels. I have two books. One is a novel, 7 Days at Oak Valley. It's a murder mystery that's set at a fictitious Tennessee institution, and the protagonist is someone who lives at the institution. The second book is the most recently published, and that came out this past March, and it is a nonfiction book that focuses on the history of the unpaid labor of the residents in state-run mental hospitals as well as the state-run institutions for people with intellectual disabilities, and how the institutional industrial complex solely depended on the labor of the individuals who live there, unpaid labor, to operate and to continue to grow and develop into the unfortunately amazing number of people that ended up being incarcerated in state-run institutions. That book also traces the history of the Subminimum Wage Act and how that provision in the Fair Labor Standards Act actually ended up helping people remain in poverty. And I know full employment is an issue that Tash has been working on for many years, and this book traces the history of how people's labor was devalued and disregarded as far as how productive they could be and the contributions they could make in the same form that all of our citizens make who seek to be employed and to be fully employed at fair wages. So what brought me to Tash? Well, Tash has always been an organization near and dear to my heart. I joined Tash as a student, graduate student at Vanderbilt, and really sought to maintain my membership because Tash is the only organization that really focuses and has a history of focusing exclusively, not totally exclusively, but primarily on the needs and interests of people with significant disabilities. Tash has always stood for equity and inclusion and full citizenship for people that have significant disabilities. I also came to Tash because of its mission. It has really focused on elevating the voices of all the people who care deeply about this group of people in our society. And that includes the researchers, it includes the parents, it includes the other advocates and professionals, and it includes the people themselves. And Tash is unique in that it's brought all of these different types of people, these people with a different focus and different perspectives together to really work together to strengthen the actions and efforts that we would be taking on our own or singularly as a separate group. And because of that united effort, Tash has been able to accomplish tremendous things in the past. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to be the new director of Tash, so I could help further and bring the work that we've done in the past to fruition now, and also use the strength of our organization to begin to mold the actions that we need to take to continue to be able to work on behalf of the people that we want, with the challenges that are coming to be now and in the future. I also wanted to be the director of Tash because I really believe that we need that strong voice. We need to be prepared to face the challenges that the turnover in the administration is going to be presenting us with in November. Regardless of the outcome of the elections, there's still going to be a great deal of work to do, and we need a united voice in order to be able to help our policymakers and people in authority understand that the people that we care about cannot be left behind. So as I move forward with the work that I have upon me, Barb Trader, the former director, has left the organization in very good standing, and I'm fortunate to be able to come in her place and begin to look at what the needs of the organizations is now, and think forward to what we want to accomplish in the future. Three of the biggest challenges that I see is to continue to build our membership and to expand the reach and development of the chapters of Tash. I think that we have members in all of the states across the country, but we don't have chapters in every state, and that's a personal goal of mine. I also want to see chapters in universities such as the one that I joined when I was at Vanderbilt, because I think capturing the voices and the perspectives of people who are new in the field, people that are coming back to school, really can help shape our perspectives and help deepen our understanding of what the issues are and broaden the types of activities and actions that we can take as we face challenges that are coming down the road. So what are those challenges? Well, to me, I think in the near future, we're looking at two really critical things. Well, and those are the reauthorization of IDEA next year, as the ESSA Act has passed with implications for children who receive special education services. The reauthorization of IDEA is going to be an opportunity for us to be able to really make sure that children with all disabilities have inclusive education and are educated side by side by their peers and have skilled and dedicated professionals who have the understanding of how best their needs can be met in the regular classroom. And the second challenge is the Zika virus. And I know from the news reports that Zika is present in all 50 states and Puerto Rico, our territories. And the implications of the Zika virus are very similar to those that we faced as a country when we were trying to overcome rubella. The last rubella epidemic was in the early 70s. And Thomas, the person I'm a guardian for, was a rubella baby. He was somebody born with rubella, and his disabilities come from the rubella virus. As you've heard from the reports, microcephaly is an outcome of pregnancy from being exposed to the Zika virus during pregnancy. And the implications of microcephaly are still being researched, and people are still trying to understand the full array of needs that these children being born today are going to present to us. But I think it's important for us to remember that despite, as we stand in Tash and as we've stood for, despite whatever challenges and difficulties those babies are born with, we want to make sure that all of those children have access to fully inclusive early intervention and opportunities to grow and be able to have the same type of high expectations for them that we have for any child in our culture. And for me, the Zika virus represents an opportunity for Tash to unite at a very early stage around an issue and a problem that our whole country is facing, and to be able to show support for the mothers, support for the children, support for those families, but also to help educate the people who are going to be interacting with those families, to be able to help the pediatricians, to be able to help the neonatal nurses, to be able to help the early childhood specialists understand that these children have the same expectations for fulfilling their true potential as any other child that's going to come into their care. So the third thing that I wanted to make sure that we touch upon, and this is an issue that is affecting mostly in our country today, is the home and community-based services rule that the CMS, the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services, has issued. And this rule is one that insists that services and supports that people receive that are funded by Medicaid occur in the most integrated setting. And that's coming from the Olmstead decision, which says that people have the right to receive services and supports in the community. And so the home and community-based rule is one that providers around the country are grappling with. They're trying to understand what the implications of the rule, and it's really insisting that there is a huge shift in the way people receive services and supports in the future. Tash has been actively involved in coalitions that are working on helping to educate the administrators at CMS to help them understand that efforts to dilute or to reduce the requirements that they're insisting providers meet really is not acceptable, but to also help provide resources and information and education that Tash is uniquely situated to be able to say, here are models that are happening in the community today. Here are representative examples of what people are doing and how people are receiving services in a way that meet this rule. And as Tash comes together, we've had a history of rich engagement of people who are considered subject matter experts. And these subject matter experts come from Tash, and they have a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience that is very valuable to people to be able to share and to be able to continue to build on the foundation of a really inclusive and full society, welcoming, opening society for people with significant disabilities. So as I go forward, I'm hoping to be able to, in the first year, visit, if not in person, then through Skype or FaceTime, with all of the chapters. We are planning a chapter needs assessment so that the chapters can give us a good understanding of where they are, what their needs are, but also what strengths they have to share with other chapters. Tash has many strong chapters that are models for, and can be models for, new chapters that we're hoping to cultivate as we bring people together across the country. Of course, I hope to see all of you at the conference. This year it's going to be in St. Louis, and the staff at the Tash office are madly processing the response to the request for proposals for papers to be presented at Tash, and I can assure you that it's going to be a good time for all who are able to join us in St. Louis. As I go forward, also, I wanted to make a quick note before I sign off that we've started a book club. And the book club is a way for us to all read and understand what people's lives are like from the perspective of people with disabilities, from siblings, and from professionals who are writing about people in a way that can help us recapture and reconnect with our deep commitment to the values of Tash. The first book is Life in the Desert World. It is the memoir of Roland Johnson, who was an individual who lived at Pennhurst, which was a state-run institution in Pennsylvania that was the subject of a lawsuit and was one of the very first cases that established the right to treatment and the right to be in settings where people are free from harm, and ultimately was ordered closed by the judge, as people found that institutions just can't be created in a way that can provide the same thing that real community can provide for people. So I hope you have an opportunity to read Roland's memoir. It's very, very moving and shows that when someone is given opportunities, they can cultivate and become a strong voice, not only for themselves, but for other people who have been similarly situated. So welcome to me as the new director, and I look forward to working with all of you, and I hope that I have an opportunity to hear from you. And if you have ideas or suggestions or things that you think Tash can do to strengthen our purpose, our mission, and the service to the people that we care so deeply about, please send me an email. My email address is rbeckwith, RBECKWITH, @tash.org. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you sometime in the future.